I think I got it. I think I fucking got it. For the past 30 minutes, I recorded an intro for this episode 30 minutes ago. See, I got this new camera, and I got this new mic for the camera. It's on top. It's pretty fancy. I'm very proud of this mic. Let me adjust the levels a little bit. Maybe that'll be a little better. And the intro, there's no sound. It was just hissing. Went through the fucking instructions. Recorded again. Hissing. Checked my cables. Oh shit, one of the cables wasn't all the way in. Now I figured it out. Recorded another one. A test. I'm not stupid. Still hissing. Checked my cables again. Oh shit, that other cable wasn't in all the way either. So now, here we are. The Inkpulp podcast introduction. So I'm going to try to remember this monologue from before that I just recorded. This time, hopefully it sounds good. It's about failure. I lived in fear of failure for many years. Most of my life, probably. Because I was always taught failure was a bad thing. Don't be a failure. Play it safe. Don't take a risk. You don't fail. That's the lesson that was ingrained in my head. And I don't fault my parents for that. That's how they thought. They were safe people. I'm not a safe person. So I fought with this for a long fucking time. And I think that's a big problem I've had. And all those years recording this podcast and all those years of depression and all that time trying to get somewhere with my career, I think I was a big part of my own problems. And I didn't even know it. But now I'm learning about myself. I'm growing and I'm addressing. So, failure. I've got a different attitude now. I'm not afraid to fail. Failure is a wonderful teacher, if not the best teacher. Because failure allows you to learn something and allows you to apply that knowledge to grow. And that's a wonderful fucking thing. And I was able... One thing I'm trying to do with my children is not do what my parents did to me. I see in my children who they are. They're individuals. They're not... I don't want to say this in a it's not a derogatory thing. They don't follow the crowd. There are people that follow the crowd and there are people that don't. I don't. And my children don't. My parents did. And they didn't know how to nurture that behavior in me to benefit me. So all they did was put stops and governors and walls around my going against the grain, my ambition, my whatever you want to call it, my being an individual, my standing out, whatever it is you want to call it. So I had opportunity to not be that way. My daughter said she felt she had failed me on something. I said, did you learn from that? Oh yeah, I did, Dad. Are you going to make that same mistake again? Oh no. No. So then it served its purpose. Welcome failure when it comes your way. Listen to it, learn from it, grow from it, and move on. Fear can really fuck you up in life. And finally, I'm breaking free of the prison that fear had put me in. I was just raised to believe these things. You don't question your parents when you're a kid. You just don't. And I didn't even realize how ingrained their teachings were in my head. I had no idea. But I do now. So, get out there and fail. Fuck up that drawing. Just fucking fuck it up. Mess it up. Make a horrible mistake. It's going to teach you something. And when you set your sights on a goal, if you're here and you're like, I want to get here, and you make a roadmap on how you're going to do that, it's like a straight line. What could go wrong? But then you go on the road and you end up going down or you end up going up. And this is what life does. You'll get where you want to go, but it's rarely through the path of least resistance. It's usually met with a lot of resistance. And that's just what life is. And embracing the resistance, learning from it, getting back on the road, using, like, it's like every time you fail, you get a new weapon. You're in the video game. Oh shit, I got a pistol now. Let me get back on the road. Oh fuck, there's a boss. I just got this pistol. Plap, 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 plap. Wasn't strong enough. Oh shit, you died. Alright, let's go back, retrace our steps, and figure this shit out. And that's what failure does. That's a stupid video game analogy. I don't even know why. I don't even play video games that much. I don't know why it came to me, but that just came to me. So, failure's wonderful. Embrace it. It teaches you. It allows you to grow. And also be open to the teachings it gives you. If you're like, I'm starting here and I want to get over here, so this is the beauty of video. I can have visual examples. If I'm here and I want to get over here, I have a plan to go a straight line. Shit takes me up and down and all around, but I'm still moving towards it. You may, along the way, through the knowledge you gain, realize, oh, this isn't exactly where I was going. This is exactly where I want to go. So your goal may change a bit, and that's okay too. That's based on knowledge gained. As long as you are learning and growing, you're doing the right thing. As long as you're not so stubborn that you just stay affixed to something that's just problematic like I did, don't do that. Be open-minded, learn, listen to the universe. Listen to it. There's wisdom out there. It will help you get where you want to go. Welcome to the Inkpulp podcast. Another intro. I'm glad these are back. I'm enjoying them. They're supposed to be, I'm just here as a vessel. As I'm learning, I'll pass on what I've learned. Maybe it'll help you too. So, welcome to the Inkpulp podcast. I am your host, Sean Crystal, as you know. Soon this will be on the Farside Network as well. Not yet, but soon. Do me a favor, right? See that red box? It's probably right over there, I think, on YouTube. It says subscribe. Hit that shit. I need to grow my subscribers. Like and comment on this episode. I need to grow my viewership and my interactions. If you haven't watched previous episodes, please do so. We're building. We're going to get somewhere. And then you see right in the description, see that? There's a little hyperlink for a GoFundMe. Yeah, I created that GoFundMe for this. It's at $5,000. It's going to be up there for a while, and that's fine. I think of it as a tip jar. I want to offer this show for free. I do need to make some money off it. I've just put in a lot of money to get all these new cameras and shit, microphones. I mean, this right here, like I was saying earlier, I got this camera. This camera is fucking amazing. But it didn't have a microphone. So my intro on Eric's episode didn't have a microphone. Now I got a microphone for this. And I think it's going to sound even better. So my goal here is I want to produce a very high quality, entertaining, fun, educational, interesting, artistic show. So that's what I'm doing. So whatever you can spare, $1, $5, whatever you think is worth helping out, please go to that GoFundMe and drop some coin. I would appreciate that. One thing I'm doing right now is I've shifted my thinking a lot. I get invested in Kickstarters and GoFundMes all the time. I want to help support that art that I'm enjoying. And I want my money to go directly to supporting it. I don't want it to line the pockets of any corporations. And I think if anything's coming out of this COVID-19 situation, it's a realization that I had that started for me a little over a year ago, where I can just be my own dude. I can be my own artist. I can find my way, like my buddy Jim Mahfood did. He's taught me a lot. I've learned a lot from hanging with him. But yeah, I think we can all do this. And I think you, as the fans, it's a better, more personal, more intimate relationship with the creator. It just, all around, it's a win. You don't need to go sell, 50,000 copies at Marvel when you can sell probably under 10,000 directly to your fans. Make a lot more money, have the vision you want in their hands. No filter. That's exciting. So, I'm all about crowdfunding right now. I'm all about getting that right to them. So I'm doing it too. So I'm asking it of you. I'm doing it too. And don't just do it for me. If there's a creator you like, if there's a way you can get some money to them for their service, their product, whatever it is they have, please consider. Free is awesome. But I guess if you think of it as a pay what you want model, which I do believe in. I've seen a lot of amazing things happen with pay what you want. So that's what the GoFundMe is for. Please do it. Like I said, I want this to be a high quality show, and it's not. It's going to be different. So far, you've seen a lot of me and like 2 or 3 other artists jamming. You've seen episodes where me and my friends are inking over someone else, inking over each other, just jamming on ourselves, and soon you're going to start to see. Well, you saw it with Eric. We're talking about specific things and drawing homage to that thing, like it was Jim Lee last time. So we did that. Sorry, phone is distracting me. So that's a one-on-one I had with Eric. And here today, we've got another art jam, another inking other people. It's me, Tommy Lee Edwards, Jim Mahfood, and Troy Nixey inking Will Eisner. And that shit was fucking hard. And I was scared of failing. But I did it. And I learned a lot about myself as an inker and about Will Eisner as an artist. Always been one of my favorites. We all talk about it. Super important figure in the history of comic books. Also an amazing educator in the medium of comic books. So we're going to talk about all that shit. We had a really good conversation. It felt like classic Inkpulp audio, but now it's Inkpulp podcast. So yeah, please hit that GoFundMe. And then I got other stuff. I got shows coming. Some are just going to be of me drawing. Some are like just me inking an entire drawing sped up. I'll do an intro, put that on. 15-minute episode. Boom. Right now we're at once a week. I'm building towards twice a week. We'll have one come out on the Far Side Network. The next day I'll release it on YouTube. And then also another one that week that just comes out on this channel. So if you're following on the Far Side Network, come on over to my Inkpulp channel as well, because I'm going to have other shit there. I'm also going to do some instructional stuff. Tutorials, instructional, all kinds of shit. I'm also just going to film like fucking TV shows. Little TV shows. Like documentary style. Like Fuck That's Delicious. Like me at a con with my friends going out to a delicious restaurant. I don't know. I want to flood content. I just want to build. So please help. Just get involved with GoFundMe. All that money goes to good use. And I got to pay my producer, Alan. He's putting in a lot of time on this. And I really want it. I want him to see. Like, he's invested so much in this podcast with me over the years because he simply believes in it. As much as I want to prove to myself this is something bigger and better than I ever thought it would be, I need to make sure it is for him too. Got to take care of him. So do what you can. Cool. I guess that's it. I finally got the sound working. I hope. And thanks again for tuning in to the Inkpulp podcast, motherfucker. So you're just opening up where you live, Troy? Starting to?
Yeah, well, most of the province, I live in Alberta, most of the province has been open for about a week now. We're a little behind Calgary in the smaller town where they have a meat processing plant that was hit really, really hard. We're about a week behind, just because of the number of cases that we had here. So starting on Monday, um, they are opening up cafes and hair salons and whatnot. I gotta read the article to find out exactly how that works in terms of, if it's very limited seating or what it is. But slowly starting to get back to things, and people here have been really good for the most part in terms of respecting um, the idea of social distancing and stuff. No one is happy. Like everyone is just walking around like a zombie. Everyone's just ready for this to be over.
Right, right.
You
Yeah, I
know.
mean, we opened up 3 weeks ago. Yeah, it's been about 3 weeks, and it was out of nowhere. I think we were supposed to be closed down 2 weeks beyond when he opened up, and our governor just opened up like all of a sudden on a Tuesday. He announced we're opening on Friday. It didn't give anyone time to put into effect any precautionary methods
Oh,
or
jeez.
measures, and then they released like my wife works in a spa, so they released on Thursday the like safety protocols for spas,
Yeah.
giving them no time to prep. Now, luckily, my wife's boss um, is smart and kind of sat back and didn't open up for another 2 weeks from that date.
Oh,
So it
okay.
gave him time to prep and prepare. But I mean, when I go outside, I just like if I go to pick up some food to bring home for dinner, it's every place is mobbed. Nobody's wearing masks. Sometimes when I go to the food store, I see people in masks. Sometimes I don't. It's just like a whole horde of people here don't believe it was ever anything to worry about.
Hmm.
But that being said, I've been trying to keep an eye on like realistic numbers, because no matter what you're looking for on the internet, you're going to find it. It seems like we're still trending down. So it's not like we had this major uptake like everyone's saying, and
Yeah.
it's got me losing my fucking mind because like you've got one side of the media saying we're all doomed and we're going to die, and then the other side saying it's all fake. Neither of them are right, and it's like there's no consistent source of information for
Yeah.
us to know what the fuck to do about anything.
Well, for my perspective on the whole thing was that because, I mean, obviously you want to trust the people who know more than you. And so, like, certainly listening to the experts, but also understanding that this is a brand new thing
Right.
and no one knows 100% what this thing is going to be or what it's going to turn into. It's already morphed into something else, in different places. It's changing, and so you just kind of have to be organic with it, I
Yeah,
guess, and
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
you know
Hmm.
be and just sort of hope for the best and try to still maintain a sense of normalcy in these really weird times. But yeah, like
Sure.
no one really knows what's going to happen in the fall. Like,
Yeah,
is there
yeah.
gonna be another huge upswing of people with it? I have no idea.
Right. Or is it going to be that, or is it going to be nothing, or is it going to like we have no idea.
Yeah.
We have no idea. I mean, I am like when I go to the food store, I'm wearing a mask just out of being considerate for other people. But
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, people are still, I think Portland's following California's rules basically right now. Like we're still on lockdown, man. Like
LA's starting to open, I think, next week, right?
see, I heard that, but then I heard that the lockdown was in effect for like 2 more months through the summer. So maybe
Oh,
certain small things are starting to reopen in LA, but
yeah.
again, there's so many mixed.
Well, New
Uh,
York is opening up some shit this week.
Wow.
So, like their beaches, I think they're opening up this weekend for locals.
right.
Even the city beaches, I think. So
I
I don't know. This shit's crazy, man.
Well, and it's been strange watching because I'm obviously watching from another country, watching the news in the States and what's going on. And one thing, like there is this divisive, depending where you lean politically. And one thing that sort of seems to be missing in all of this is like no one is happy about this. Like no one is enjoying being stuck inside, or no one is enjoying not being able to go to work.
Right.
It's kind of what you do with that information,
Right.
and your perspective on the whole thing, and no one thinks that this is a wonder. I kind of made a crack to my partner the other day, and I told her, I said, yeah, at this point, I think even misanthropes want to be able to go and buy an ice cream cone. And, it's just like, it's such uncharted territory for all of us.
Yeah. It very much is. Very much.
Yeah. It's, no one has the answers. I mean,
No. Yeah.
Keeping myself distracted with work, and being at home and working is what I do anyway. So in that regard, I think I'm lucky in a way to be busy, but
yeah, I mean, I've been busy too. I've just been doing what I do.
And the thing is, though, is like, I'm sure all of us have, because we do work at home, we have those things in place where we have to go outside of the home that allow us to have the sanity to work at home. Like, Jim, I know you got a routine. Like, you like to go, like, you're like me, you like to go to coffee shops and stuff like that. And yeah, like, I'm not, by no means am I saying woe is me. I mean, we're really quite lucky in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, like, it's just been weird, that transition of not being able to do those things. Like, it's essentially, for me, it's like going to a gas station and putting gas in your car. It's like going to a cafe and just being amongst humanity to sort of give you that energy then to be able to go home and sit in a room by yourself for 12 hours, right?
Yeah.
So
Sure.
Yeah, my interactions with people now are just through Zoom and on the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jim, you've got to be losing your mind. Right? Like, I mean, I have a family, so I get some human interaction. I can't imagine.
Yeah. I mean, I talk to the girls at the coffee shop in my neighborhood. I go in there like 3 times a week, and their hours are like, we're only open from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. And their rush is in the morning, but they're cool. I know the woman who owns the spot, and she's like, dude, this is so fucking ridiculous. Like, their business was just starting to like get really good and blow up and get crowded, and now it's been reduced to like the 15 locals in the neighborhood are the only ones going there.
Oh shit.
And I mean, it's a safe spot to go to, but it's just kind of like.
Are they okay? Like, is she going to be able to make it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's.
Yeah, but it's just, I mean, what a drastic change in business.
Oh, yeah.
Totally. All right, we have a surprise guest I'm letting in now.
Oh, excellent.
Oh, shit.
I don't know
who could it be?
Here he comes.
Hey!
He's coming. Where's the audio? Coming.
Look at that handsome, happy man.
Speak, man. Speak. Speak to us, O wise one.
All right, can you hear me?
There it is.
There he is.
Hey.
I'm assuming you guys have been working.
Not yet.
No.
We haven't started yet.
Okay.
We're
not waiting for me.
No,
just...
we were recording a little conversation about the coronavirus, and now I'm going to introduce the show now that you're here.
Okay.
All right. So welcome, everyone, to the Inkpulp podcast. I am joined again by my faithful crew. I got Jim Mahfood joining me.
What's up, guys?
I've got Troy Nixey back.
From Canada, all the way from up north.
Thank you for coming back, Troy. I know it's a long trip, but you made it. And Tommy, I don't know what he's doing, but Tommy Lee Edwards is back.
Hey, I'm just getting set up still.
Okay. So today we do have an inking challenge, but Tommy's the wise man who committed himself to 2 jobs. So he'll be tackling work. But Jim, Troy, and myself will be inking Will Eisner this time. And I think we've got a lot to talk about with this one. Because
I apologize. It was my suggestion.
I was like, anyone for John Buscema? This is a tough one, but we're going to do this and we'll talk about it.
I wish I was doing that instead of work.
Can you tell us what you're doing, Tommy?
Well, one is the book I'm doing that that Grendel, Kentucky book for AWA,
Yeah.
and then the other one I can't say what it is.
Gotcha.
So I'm gonna work on Grendel right now, but I kind of don't want to like. But I'm on some kind of spoiler sensitive pages.
That's fine. It's fine. Troy actually has a really good like discussion topic we'll go into.
Oh, cool.
But first, let's kind of show the pieces we're going to be inking. So, Jim,
I told you I can't. I can't.
All right, Tommy, let's see your screen real quick now. Jim, show us what you got going on.
Switch the camera. So I got this guy.
Awesome.
This guy, if time allows it.
That's a good one.
But yeah, you know, I mean, we're not just inking today. We're doing finishes. Like this is we're finishing.
Yeah,
Which is cool. I mean, it's cool with me, but it's just a different.
It's a totally different thing.
Yeah.
It's not inking. We're finishing. That's so. Troy, the images I got were out of this book. Is that what you have, Troy?
No, because they were. I think you have the deluxe edition. I have a much thinner version of that.
Okay.
And
that one's crappy.
Yeah, it's all very loose. It's all very loose, and I mean, and it speaks to Will's inking, where he found so much of what he does with his brush and not his pencil. So.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not entirely convinced he inked right from what we're seeing. I mean, I'm sure he did. I just don't want to believe that. I guess is more what I'm saying.
I did find a couple, and so I thought I was all fancy and was going to hook up my camera to this as well through my phone, but that doesn't quite work with Zoom. So I'm doing the old school camera move down to my screen again.
Show us what you got.
I don't know if here, I'll actually hold it up to the camera. So that's the piece. That's one of the pieces I'm doing. I believe it's from A Contract with God.
Yeah, that is.
And I just thought it'd be really cool because I could do a lot of mood with the rain and everything. So this might not look like Will Eisner at all when I'm done, but it should be fun.
Yeah. I mean, I have in my head, like, I avoided panels like that specifically because I knew I would just reproduce what I thought Will Eisner would do. Like with all that hatchwork in the background, I know he'd make these thin little brush strokes everywhere and they'd be real pretty, but I'm going to show you what I'm doing. It's the same one Jim has, and we'll talk about it. So I'm gonna switch my mic over, and I gotta hit the air conditioner. It just will not turn off. I'm freezing. So I'm gonna switch my mic and head over to my table, and give me 1 second. I'll be back, and you all are getting prepped up too.
Sure. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, now
Tommy, how you been, dude?
Good, buddy. I'm trying to get my other camera to work. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, everything's good. I was actually today. I was thinking that we were gonna hang out tomorrow, and I totally just like biffed. I don't know what I was thinking.
You boofed. You didn't biff. You boofed.
And then, yeah, I was like doing like real life stuff today, like going to the dump, and taking the recycling in and all this kind of stuff. So I'm just like, I'm going to do that. Then I get back home and get back to work. And then I see the emails and I'm like, wait, that's tomorrow. So.
Wait, are you saying, did I say it was tomorrow?
No, I looked back at the emails hoping I could prove you wrong, but no, I was wrong.
Aha, I win. I'm right. All right, so let's talk about Eisner real quick because like these are sketches at best. I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, so this is not a inking challenge. This is a drawing challenge. As far as
what would you consider this? I mean, because I do think that, well, maybe he didn't. I don't know, but I know that at times he has worked from very loose pencils, and I think that speaks to his understanding of what he's trying to accomplish.
Sure.
And his mastery of the brush.
Yeah, and I'm realizing even more so than I ever thought right now.
It's pretty amazing. That's
Yeah.
why I said I apologize, because it was my suggestion to ink some Will Eisner. So
Well, I think it's a good challenge. I mean, I already know Jim's going to do an amazing piece. I have no doubt. Jim could have nothing on the paper and just go down with the ink and it'll look great.
I'm
on the other
I'm
hand,
into the Eisner thing though, because I think what he allowed to be published as his pencils, I don't. These are just sketches, and I think that he was actually penciling way tighter on his own before he went to inks on this stuff.
that's what
Yeah, you
I'm
think so?
thinking.
yeah,
I'm thinking I'm thinking this spirit cover, Jim, is more of a thumbnail.
Yeah.
I mean, because those figures in the background are just like blobs.
Right.
Like, I don't know what the fuck's going on.
It's kind of cool because
Yeah.
it's like, well, this will be open to interpretation. So
Right. Yeah.
oh, for sure.
It'll definitely be a good exercise. And we are the brave souls that are recording this to put out into the public.
Even better, we'll post them to social media. So
Yeah, we'll do all that. It'll be on YouTube, social media, all over the place. But yeah, it was not what I thought it would be. I thought like inking Eisner, like the pen, like we'd have more finished pencils, and because he had all that beautiful feathering and
Have
all
you seen
kinds
this
of-
book?
oh
Hold
hell
on.
yeah, yes.
Hold on, let me see. What book, Tommy?
oh yeah, I have
Yeah.
that. I love that.
It's crazy. Like it's one of those artist edition books.
I
so it's
do
pretty
have that
identical
one.
Size.
Yeah, I have that one too. Actually, I didn't even think to look in that. Is there stuff in there? Are there pencils in there that we could have used?
No, it's just
Because I
it's just
have
all
that.
inks.
I just
Yeah.
haven't.
Yeah,
opened
it's all
it in a while.
finished stuff.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, one thing I'm glad about is I picked one where I had some words incorporated with the image, which is nice. Because when it comes to Eisner, he's so good at incorporating words and imagery.
Oh, he is. It's amazing. So what does Will mean to you guys? Like, where is he in your sort of list of cartoonists who mean something to you?
For me, Will is the top.
Like right at the top.
Right at the top. Yeah,
Wow.
there is there's no other artist except for possibly Harvey Kurtzman that has informed me, taught me, and influenced me with their work as much as them. And I also don't think they're the master of craft that those two had is beyond anything we've seen since them.
I can agree with that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and also, I mean, Will is a writer too. I love his books.
It's interesting because a lot of people these days seem to not really understand what he was doing. And they say, well, his stuff is melodramatic. It's very sort of condensed in terms of his approach stylistically and staging. And it's just like, for me, like in his later work, especially like with a Contract with God specifically, to me, he was doing comic versions of stage plays.
Absolutely. I agree.
Right.
And people just don't really cotton on to that, or they just think it's sort of old fashioned. And there's just so much to glean from his storytelling. And, they always say, oh, his characters are always overacting. They're always melodramatic. And it's just like, he's doing something that no one else has ever done. And he's,
Right.
like he's capturing theater on the page. It's absolutely remarkable.
Yeah, and I also think today, like, people are so focused on how movies, how comics can act like movies. And I remember, I think it was in Eisner's text, Comics and Sequential Art, he talked about stage plays and how much that influenced him when he went and saw a play and got him thinking about staging. And that's when I started thinking more and more about environments as being on a stage, and like how can I make this feel like an entire room with as little props as possible, but design it so well that it's really has a lot of character and is really interesting to look at. And that's one thing I constantly am blown away when I look through Will's books is he could just have a window and an art table and someone drawing at it, and it's a fully fledged room.
Yep.
And he was completely unafraid to do amazing lighting and like even like throwing spotlights. And it's just and I mean he loved to do that with street lamps and
Yep.
it's just there's so, and I don't like, you know, people sort of approach the work the way they approach the work, so I don't want to slam anyone at all. I mean, we all find our path, but no one really is tackling lighting and shadow these days, especially like he did, for sure.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
very true.
I answered the question. Someone else answered Troy's question because I think it's a good one.
For me, it's like his storytelling and mood setting and design work with like what you guys are saying, the text, the logos, completely innovative and so original, you know, like stuff that hadn't really been done before. So I think, you know, he's on the Mount Rushmore for sure of comics, innovators, creators, originators, you know. It's cool because like I'm a huge Jack Kirby fanatic, obviously, but I also love Will, and I love that they're both innovative guys that are sort of on opposite ends of the spectrum, where Jack's like imagination and design sense is so completely bugged out that you have to respect it, and the amount of work he was able to produce. And Will, to me, is like the prime example of rooted in foundations, academic drawing, but taking it to a level that no one else had even thought of taking it to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so both men are always highly regarded in the history of comics, but I love that they're like opposite ends of just greatness, you know.
Yeah, Jim, did you ever read Will's book called The Dreamer?
I haven't.
It's a very short book. It's like 60 something pages, and it's very autobiographical about his dreams of being a professional artist. And it's about the comic book industry, and in it, when he spends some time at a big publisher, which is basically Marvel, there's Kirby. I mean, he doesn't call him Kirby, but it's Kirby, and all the guys have a role in the book for a minute. But I just thought you might think that was interesting.
I need to check that out.
But Jim, also I want to ask you, because for me, like, and this for everyone, I really like every project I get, I like put it out there. Like I want to do Spirit splash pages. I want to have the title of the chapter on a splash page. The first page, you open the book. I want to draw it in the rocks in the background or in the water spilled somewhere. Like I want to do that again. And every project I get, I bring it up and everyone's like, oh, that's cool. But nobody ever leaves the room for it.
Right.
And it fucking frustrates the hell out of me because like that's something I love about comics. But so it's the way Will incorporated words and pictures, and it taps into my love for graffiti too.
Yep. Oh yeah, man. His logos and his thought process around designing like chapter, you know, title sequences and intros to books and all that with the mood and the logo. It's like just next level design that no one else I think was really even considering.
I still think no one's considering it today.
I'll tell you what, man. I think the lineage that carried that tradition on would be like the late 60s underground comics guys like Crumb and Gilbert Shelton and Rick Griffin. They were all guys that, you know, penciled, inked, wrote, and lettered their own comics. And a lot of them were doing these incredible title page sequences with lettering and figuring that kind of stuff out. But that vocabulary was lost with the generation of guys that were just doing superhero comics after that.
Right.
Um,
Right.
You just don't really see that. I mean, obviously Alex Toth was doing that kind of stuff, but Eisner was in a category of his own with all of that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I was gonna say that Toth is my guy. He's my I think the best ever.
Yeah.
And
We should
maybe not
definitely ink Toth. We should do a inking Toth episode.
it
Go
would
ahead,
take
Tommy.
Jim 5 minutes.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I feel like remember there's that Batman story he did with the airplane and stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
And the logo was the title of the story, the death from above or
Yes.
something
Yes.
was in his cape.
Yes. I totally remember that.
I mean, there's that. I mean, I'm sure he was probably influenced by Eisner and that stuff. And so we're Toth maybe it wasn't as much of the trailblazer as Will. He was able to, again, another guy who lettered his own stuff. So that's definitely a big part of it, like Jim was saying. And kind of thinking about the whole thing that way. And then there was a lot of the Hot Wheels stuff.
Yep.
And all the hot rod stuff that Toth did has a lot of that kind of
Right.
vibe as well, where he used the lettering, and then his use of sound effects and everything was, I think, actually like rivaled Eisner.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on the sound effect thing for sure.
Just because I think it was more of a language that he kind of embraced more than Will did.
Yes. Yeah.
With
Yeah.
sound effects.
Definitely.
But when you think of like it's funny how when you think of a certain artist, you immediately think of sound effects, like Kirby, like Simonson,
Oh yeah.
Howard, and I don't really think of that with Will stuff.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right about
It's
that.
different language, kind of. Yeah.
He used when Eisner used words in his books, they were acting as words, not sounds.
Yeah. So
All right.
there's the new project I just started that I can't really talk about yet is it's a
stop
comic
talking about
that, yeah. As I'm finding that like I'm not using sound effects as much as I would on this Grendel thing. So sometimes it depends on the project.
Right.
Yeah, that's another area I love playing with is sound effects. I love
Yeah,
anything I get to
I'm
use words.
Yeah, I'm huge on sound effects too. And when I started lettering my own work, I really started to integrate them more into the storytelling. I've been very open of how I am not a fan in the least of digital lettering. There's some letterers that are working digital that are really good and it works with the artwork and you can't really tell. It looks like sort of traditional lettering, but to me most digital lettering just looks like it's just sitting on top of the page. It does not work with the artwork whatsoever, and especially sound effects. Like digital sound effects are horrible.
Yeah, I agree. They're so tacked on that like my thing is the art should all like have a harmony to it. The way you draw a figure should look the same as a sound effect. But Jim and I have been talking about this because we recently did a podcast where we went back and reread The Dark Knight Returns. And the one thing I really loved this time that I hadn't really focused on before was the lettering in that book is so beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
So Troy, are you what are you hand lettering with? Like what tools are you using?
I have a system where I create essentially a lettering guide for myself because I work in layers now. And I do, like I am now, I do all my inking with a light pad. So I'm able to really get my hands dirty in terms of pencils and everything I need to build up to get to the inks. And so I have, I'll show you. So these, essentially, I do this on a separate layer. Here.
Right. Okay.
So I just have a crap ton of these. And so I do all my rough lettering on these. And because I lightbox, then I just basically trace my rough lettering that's on a separate layer.
Oh,
And I
wow.
just do balloon placements where I need them to be on the pencils. So that's one thing that always sort of bugged me is you draw something really awesome and then all of a sudden the next thing you know, you get covered with a balloon. So I avoid that now, and just for time and sanity. So yeah, I just sort of work on a separate layer and then do the final lettering. Basically tracing my rough lettering that I do on those guides.
And what are you using to trace the letters with?
I use.
That was going to be my question. Like, is there a specific tool lettering?
Yeah, I've been using this Pigma FB pen, and it's got sort of a nice little flex to it, so you can still get a nice firm lettering, but you can get a nice variation of line within a letter. My buddy Riley Rossmo actually inks with these things, these Pigma FBs. And,
I know Riley. Yeah.
Yeah, he's in town too. He's local here.
Oh,
so,
good dude.
but I was gonna try out some different tools before I tackled my next project, just to see if there's something that I liked a little different. And with hand lettering, I've also used different fonts for different characters. You can really play with the spacing of your lettering, just sort of add a little bit more characterization to somebody. And there's a lot of storytelling you can employ within just lettering your book.
Yeah, it's kind of sad that lettering's just become this like disposable thing. It's just production now. Like at a lot of publishers, it's just seen as production.
Yeah.
I'm showing an example right now of like one of my new Girl Scouts pages, and I'm doing everything pencil, ink, and just lettering directly on the boards.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And my lettering style, it's like, since my work is loose and kinetic, I'm able to I don't even have to like line out the lines with a T-square for my lettering. I just pencil it. And if it comes out slightly askew, like it's okay, because that's just the style of what I'm doing.
Well, and that's it too, is finding that lettering style that works with how you draw.
Yeah.
Because it should work as a whole. Like it should just be a complete thing. And I've had this discussion with my art rep and a few other artists, and I mean, commissions seem to be the popular thing these days, and page sales seem to have dropped a bit. And I don't know if this is true or not, but I wondered if it was because there was no longer lettering on the original art. Because when you buy a page, you want that moment.
Right.
You want the words and you want the pictures.
Yeah.
And one of them is gone. It isn't there. It's not the same. Doesn't hold the same sort of importance as a fan. So.
Yeah, it feels like there's something missing if you buy.
Yeah.
Good point.
Original. Yeah.
I've been really excited and interested in bringing words into my commissions as much as I can lately. Like that Jim, you saw that Dr. Doom I'm working on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. That's really, I love that. I like that, you're thinking sort of beyond just your sort of, no, here's Batman standing on a building.
Right.
Idea, right?
Yeah.
Is that something, Sean, that you think you need to like? Do you ask the customer? Is that like, hey, do you mind if I incorporate a logo into this or some lettering, or is it just kind of your call to do that?
Yeah, I haven't. I've always felt like commissions were my call, but it's funny because I thought about like with the Dr. Doom piece, like I'm obviously doing, it's graffiti and it's an homage to MF Doom the rapper too. So like at first I was like, maybe I should make sure he likes that. But I was like, you know what? This is me. Like I want to put out work that represents me and how I see things and my take on things. And so people will just expect that when they get a commission from me, it's, it's just going to represent me. So like that one painting I did, Jim and Tommy, you saw where I tattooed Thug Life on that anime character's stomach.
Yeah.
Like I did reach out to Bobby who got that one. He gets a lot of commissions from me. I was like, hey, are you a hip hop fan? And he was like, yeah. I was like, okay, Tupac. He's like, I'm more of an East Coast guy. I was like, oh, okay. He's like, why? I was like, look, I just have this idea and it's gonna be baller. I think you're just gonna like it. He's like, I trust you, man. And I did it, and he loves it.
Oh, good.
Loves
Yeah.
it. So, I just think it makes the piece unique. And it's something like if you have a bunch of Dr. Dooms hanging on your wall, but then there's one with the graffiti Doom behind it, that's gonna make it different.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure. And two, I think that people that are getting commissions, because it's after that last project I had just poof went away. I started working with the new art rep, and so I've been really busy doing commissions. And it'd been a long time since I had done any, and I find that people who are getting commissions now seem to be a lot more sophisticated than they were back in the day, and that they are giving me lots of leeway and freedom because they do want your interpretation or just your sort of singular vision of an idea. So
And that's how it should be. I mean, that's the best way for an artist to be. But I also think, like from an artist perspective, that's how it should be. But also from a marketing and like branding perspective, it's like you're making it unique. You're making it yours, and people are gonna come to you for what you do, not just like I just need another Batman. I want to get someone to draw it.
Yeah.
They'll want like I see what Troy's been doing. I want a Troy Batman this time.
Yeah.
And I want
Troy,
him to
what,
do his
Troy,
thing.
what was that? What was that insane commission you posted
Oh God.
this week? It's like these are getting to become like Bernie Wrightson level, like Frankenstein.
It's right here. It's that Frankenstein Wolfman piece that I did.
That's insane.
Yeah, that thing was insane, dude.
It's nuts.
It's
I love
gorgeous.
it so much.
Well, and this sort of what brought me to that idea for a topic of discussion, because if you had, shot me into the future and said, "Hey, you'll be drawing this in a year," I'd be like, "No, I won't." And so I didn't really know that I was capable of sort of that level of hatching and rendering until I started doing commissions.
Right.
And it sort of brought a whole new level to the way I think about everything now. And it was so much fun. Like it was just one of those things where I had an idea and it's like, okay, I'm just gonna run with this. And it took a long time, I'm not gonna lie to you. But it was just, I was considered, it's like trying to stay ahead of the confusion. And by that, I mean, when you're working on a piece and you don't know how you're going to render something. And with this one, I felt like I was sort of on pace. Like I felt okay. Like I never felt like, oh shit, what am I going to do here?
Right.
And so thankfully, because this could have gone square shaped really easily.
Well, Troy, you have a great topic to talk about, but before we do it, I think one thing that's come out of this this like quarantine and our loss of conventions and the publisher shutting down is, I mean, we're all taking on these commissions, but it's allowing us to kind of experiment and grow and try new things and become better artists. Whereas when you're working in comics, you're just trying to meet that deadline. And this gets to your question, Troy, which can kind of just hold you in one place.
Yeah, and so I've been thinking about this a lot, even before I started doing commissions. But when I started doing the commissions, it really started to take up a lot of space in my brain. And I haven't really had the opportunity to talk to any fellow creators about it. And I'll draw a little diagram so people know what the heck I'm talking about. And that is working to your ceiling. And so, everyone has one. There's an image on the other side. But, if we're working to our ceiling, and hitting our ceiling, and that's, the ceiling moves. So if we hit our ceiling, we're pushing our ceiling, we're getting better. And so our ceiling, of course, being the best that we can do at the moment that we're in.
Right.
And so, but in comics, we're constantly, and there are legitimate reasons why we don't work to our ceiling in comics, and commerce and deadlines usually go hand in hand, but those being two of them. So if we're working perhaps 70 to 80% of our ceiling, we can move that just by doing. because I think you get better just by doing, unless you're lazy. But you're never working to your max capacity as a creative person when you're working in content. Most aren't. Some do. Some just like throw all in all the time. And so what's more important to an individual? Is it moving your ceiling? Is it becoming the best artist you can be? Or is it like, I need to get books done, I have a million ideas, I can't go in and render every single tiny thing in a panel. So working with that shorthand that we're sort of taught in comics to pursue, that this is sort of where the confusion is for me. Like, where do I want to be in it? And to me, I've been leaning much closer to continuing to push my ceiling to get better and better and better. And like I said, with this Frankenstein and Wolfman piece, a year ago, I didn't think I would be capable. A year ago, I wouldn't have been capable of doing something like that. It took the commissions that preceded it for me to get to this point where I've continued to work at rendering tone and light with basically this pen. And, hopefully I can continue to push that and see where I can go with it. And can I employ that in comics? Can I, really take perhaps a European approach where they do like a page and a half a week kind of thing, rather than, having to get a page a day done.
Right.
And so that's where, I wonder, where do other artists sort of fall with that notion, with that idea? Like, what's sort of the driving force? Is it the amount of work, getting the amount of work, or is it becoming the best artist you can be? I gotta say, I have an answer for me. I don't have an answer for everyone.
I have a very thorough answer for this, but
excellent. Lay it on us.
Well, does someone want to go before I go? I don't want to hog the whole.
No, Sean, go for it.
Yeah.
So this has been something I've wrestled with my entire career. I don't want to put out work to get the job done. I want to try to push my ceiling with every job I get. And what happens is I spent 10 years never achieving either. I was meeting my deadlines and I wasn't thrilled. Some jobs I think I was happy with the work I did, but I always chose my art over finances, so I always had financial issues. And I basically in the past year just reached a point where I was like, I am so sick of this, because I see the shit that these publishers are putting out. I see the people who are becoming like superstars, and it's just a bunch of shortcuts.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm never inspired to do comics by people who had that mentality. It's not to say that some people weren't fast. I love the work of Bruce Timm, and Bruce is super fast, but he's a brilliant artist, and I don't see him like rushing to get something done. His style and technique is built for speed. And so, but for me, that's not the case. The way I want to work and the way I work, it won't be fast. So I'm more interested now in finally trying to get to do comics the way I want to do them, because I don't like comics. I don't like art that is just servicing a deadline. And I didn't get into this to have a desk job. And that's what it becomes for me at that point.
And that's a really important point, where it becomes less about the craft and the art, and really it is just sort of sitting down and, punch in that time card, and it's like, do my 8 hours, then I'm out kind of thing. And as Ed Piskor calls them, jobbers.
Yeah.
And so, and certainly I don't want to, I'm not disparaging anyone, but it's just, I would suggest that there isn't any jobbers in this conversation at all.
Yeah.
But it is sort of finding that balance. And like with this next, I haven't drawn a comic page in 8 months. I went and looked, and since I wrapped up Trout, and Trout didn't really wrap up the way I wanted it to. I kind of came out of that disappointed and a little exhausted. And so the commission thing was a really nice way to flex some different muscles, and obviously, make an income while the comic stuff wasn't happening. But now that I'm eager to get back into comics, I want to see if I can bring some of that over into the next project. And I'm not suggesting I'm going to do a comic that looks like that Frankenstein piece I just showed you, because that would be insane. But being very purposeful in my approach to my comic pages, where perhaps I wasn't as much in the past.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it's also like, I don't want to take all the time in the world to try to do something that isn't me. Like, if you give me all the time I need to do something, I'm going to do it the way that feels right for me. And it doesn't mean render it to death. That's not who I am. I'm not going to do a Jeff Darrow piece. And I love Jeff Darrow. It's just not who I am. So given all the time, I'm not going to go there with it.
Yeah.
Now, it's something I would probably pursue here and there just to learn from and push myself, like you were saying. But it's just about not being rushed, doing it the way you want to do it. But it's also like putting time into the planning. Like I was saying earlier, having that splash page with the title on it that you can spend time like laying out, designing, figuring out, rendering. Like, I just would like to do all that stuff, and that stuff just takes time.
Yeah, and I don't want to keep hogging this, but for me, it's where I want. I want to be able to see where I'm capable of going in comics,
Right.
and the only way I can do that is to really keep pushing myself, and like I said, keep raising my ceiling, like hitting that ceiling, so I'm getting better. And so yeah, that means some course correction with all this, and trying some different things, but being very purposeful and methodical in my approach to comics, like I am with these commission pieces. So, and I don't want Tommy to think we're ragging on him, because he is currently working on 2 projects at once right now.
Well, yeah, that's partly because, I tend to pick and choose, like, if I can, what ends up being my working for the ceiling project and what isn't. And so sometimes, I've chosen poorly, and I end up, going broke for a while. So I understand, like, how, like Sean was saying, it's like you kind of don't end up doing either one sometimes. So it's like, when I did Turf with Jonathan Ross, I had a page rate and everything, even though it was creator owned. But still, I was like, well, this is the book I'm going to, like, kill myself on. And I did. And even, like, and Jonathan was new to comics, and I was kind of having to do a lot of the heavy lifting and kind of figure out how to make certain things work. And it was just a whole big, giant, like, really difficult thing. But I believed in it. And, and it was something that Jonathan and I created together from the ground up, so it wasn't like, I really felt like a sense of authorship to it. So, but yeah, I was just like, at a certain point, and then what happened was we were talking to like Richard Donner and Lauren Donner were talking about turning it into a movie, and then there was like all this kind of stuff was going on that then I felt even more justified with spending forever on it.
Right.
So yeah, I was just like, so I kind of vowed to never do that again. So or it was like, me trying to sell art so we can get groceries, I mean,
Right.
That just sucks, so it's like, all right, I'm going to try and not do that again. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. So there's been some few pieces here and there where, like, I'll think of trying to reach my ultimate, ceiling on like a single piece. Like Troy, like you mentioned, doing that, with that crazy Frankenstein piece. So I'll tend to kind of do that on like a more of a single illustration thing,
Yeah.
or something like that, more than, trying to do a whole comic that way, because I kind of learned the hard way that just wasn't realistic for me.
But you also bring a whole other element to your work that I don't have, and that's the color element. And, so you're thinking in terms of a whole finished piece, where with comics, because I don't digitally color. I did get an iPad so I could try and learn to, but I'm still collaborating with colors. But I mean, you're thinking even sort of on a broader scope of what a piece is too. And so that I find really part of the whole conversation is working to your ceiling is like seeing something through to the very end, which you do, and to to amazing effect. Like I love your pieces, like when you sometimes send stuff to us all, and I'm always absolutely blown away by it all. And it's people like you where it's like, I need to learn to color. I need to add that layer.
Yeah, I kind of it took a while in my career to, for the first few years, like editors didn't want you to kind of have so much control over the thing.
Yeah.
But then now it's to the point where if you hire Tommy, that he's just going to do it all, and John Workman's going to have to letter it. It's going to be by hand. It's going to be, all that stuff that, like, otherwise I'm just not going to do it. So, luckily,
Tommy's such a baller. He can do that.
Because
with me, if they're like, well, Sean's just not going to do it, I'll be like, all right, next.
No. I mean, and also you that's what I mean is you have to show that for a certain amount of time you've been successful doing that, and it's not going to be better than that in somebody else's hands.
Mm-hmm.
So, John's lettering both of the things I'm doing right now. I can't remember the last time we didn't work together.
It was a real pleasure to work with on Mother Panic.
Yeah, he's the best. He's such a great guy, and
so collaborative. He actually sends you like PDFs of his letters on Mother Panic. He did to me to make sure I was okay with him. I was like, dude, you don't know I okay, but these are great.
Yeah. Well, he also we tend to approach our projects differently too. So, like the lettering on Grendel, we're doing those like rectangular shaped balloons.
Yeah.
And then, like on Mother Panic, we came up with a certain way that Mother Panic's voice would be rendered.
Yes, I remember this.
We're always doing that kind of stuff, and if I just hand it over to whatever publisher and whatever, I just couldn't live with myself. So it's just kind of not worth it at that point, even if I got paid a crap load. See, that's the thing is, like, I'll do, like, when I worked on the first Harry Potter movie, and especially on all the marketing stuff and everything, that stuff was not fun.
Oh my God, I can only imagine how horrible that would have been.
Yeah. But to do it, like, see, some people think you're crazy to even say that. Like, but we understand that there's a team of people at Warner Brothers that decide, like, oh, well, that line on his lip is a little too red, and like, can you do, it's like to the point where, like, I was only doing that shit for the money.
Yeah, right. I think we all hit that realization where you grow up, you love comics, you want to draw comics. It's going to be so fun to draw Spider-Man all day. And then you get the job and you're like, oh, they're not letting me draw Spider-Man the way I want to. Yeah. And I have to I'm just a hired hand. And like drawing Spider-Man for fun was so much more fun than this.
Right. Well, even with Mother Panic, when Gerard and I first created the character and we're thinking about, doing this thing and it was like, yeah, we're going to it's going to be in the Batman world, but it's going to be our thing. And I was like, it's too good to be true. And yeah, it was too good to be true. Because, it's still a DC Comics project and we still had to follow their rules, their continuity, their, everything.
Right.
And that's why I didn't end up doing more of the book. It just,
the project, I agree. It started out when I had lunch with Gerard, like after talking to you
Yeah.
And you bought me on, and then I went to Seattle. You and I were in Chicago.
Yeah.
You showed me what you were doing. I was so excited for this book, and the design, probably the best DC character that's been designed in the past 10, 20 years, is Tommy's Mother Panic.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And then I had lunch with Gerard in Seattle, and he was like, it's basically going to be a punk rock Batman. And we just started talking about music and punk rock and attitude, and it was like, this is basically what Vertigo was, and we get to do a superhero in that. And then the book was not that at all. It just was not that at all.
And was that just all editorial, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think like we've reached a point where like people think of punk rock as one thing and they're completely wrong. Not Gerard, but just people.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, punk rock is basically about saying fuck you. I'm going to do this my way. And it's going to be raw, and it's not going to follow the conformity of the norm, and the book just wasn't that at all.
Right.
No, it still ultimately is a property.
Yeah.
So, and that's fine, and I understand that, but I think I was just naive to think it wouldn't be that.
I think you were wishful. I think we're all wishful. I mean, Jim, you get to do it your way. I mean, you are doing punk rock.
Yeah. I've had to. That took 23 years, though.
Right.
To establish a approach and a look and a style, and then convince corporations with money to let me be me if they had a cool art director that understood what I was doing and what was going on, and who would hire me and say, hey, let's leave this guy alone. Let's let him bring his weird kinetic energy to our thing, our product, our video game, whatever it is. And that's one way of working, but it's kind of like, I'm not trying to exalt my stuff to a level, but it's like lightning in a bottle, that formula that's not going to work for most people. I don't know. I don't even know how I even crafted this. I think it's just a thing that happened.
It's what I'm trying to do right now is craft.
Well, and I think Jim is actually the perfect example of sort of what I mean. And I think when I talk about working to your ceiling and pushing through your ceiling, people think, oh, like spending ridiculous amounts of time drawing a buckle. And that's not really what I mean. What I mean is just pushing yourself and continuing to really, really push yourself to uncomfortable places so that you grow as an artist, as you see things differently as an artist.
Right.
And as a result, your ability grows with you. And with Jim, because your work is so fluid, it was funny because I was actually looking at some of your older stuff from the 90s a while back, and just seeing where you started and where you are now. You are sort of the perfect example of that, because you just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And so, you do these pieces and they're really kinetic and there's so much energy, but that's because, like you said, you've been doing it for so long and pushing yourself for so long. And as a result, your stuff is so uniquely you. Like, that's, I think, what I'm really coming across is just like, there's no one else that's sort of doing the work that you're doing. And if they are, they're copying you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Those biters. Fuck
Yeah.
those kids.
Jim, I just gotta say, the mic sounds great, man.
I'm digging it. I feel like
Yeah. I'm hoping mine sounds like yours. We have the same mic, so I'm hoping.
Mine sounds really good, doesn't it?
No, yours sounds like shit.
Hey, I'm sorry. Have you noticed I've dropped out a couple times, Sean?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah,
Why? Are you losing signal?
No, it's just because Scarlett is working on school, and so
Damn it,
we're.
Scarlett.
Huh? Oh yeah.
Did you know that, Tommy? Don't tell Scarlett, but did you know that what's Scarlett's girlfriend's name?
Katie.
Yeah, she hired Zoe to do a commission for Scarlett's birthday.
Well,
Zoe
Scarlett's
draws.
listening right now. Just kidding.
It looks awesome.
Well, that's
Yeah,
That's cool. That's real
yeah,
cool.
it's very cool. But Jim, I want to hear your answer to Troy's question.
It's a really interesting question. I mean, for
So,
me,
man?
well,
Oh,
yeah. I mean, I sort of.
You know what? Melissa just got me a commission from somebody as a surprise.
What?
What now?
Tommy's just being an
The
idiot.
wheels just fell off.
Just ignore him. Just ignore him. Ignore Tommy. He's destroying the show. Go ahead, Jim. Go ahead.
I think I sort of kind of answered it, but I guess how do I say this? Well, first of all, I mean, I work mostly instinctually, so it's weird to have a voice in my head while I'm working asking, is this the best you can do?
Oh my God.
Because
That's
the
me all
voice,
day.
the voice I have is mostly like, are you happy with what you're doing in the moment? Because I'm always sort of working just in the moment.
That's amazing.
And so to me, commissions are completely different than like approaching a comic book or a comic page. And since I'm writing and drawing my own comic right now, for me, it's like, oh, I can just do whatever I want. So whatever I want to do is the best thing that I'm going to produce right now, I think.
That's such a healthy attitude. That's such a healthy attitude.
So, but commissions are different because I'm specifically taking money from one person, and I kind of have the thought in the back of my head, is this what this person is going to be expecting? So I know that they want me to be me, the weirdo, expressionist, stylized guy. So that's cool. But at the same time, I'm also, concerned with, is this going to be something that they're happy with? It's much easier just to do. That's why I'm concentrating on finishing this new comic right now, is it's just way easier for me. Like, I only have to report into me every day. I only have to fulfill what my expectation is of myself. And I think that I'm doing the best work that I've done right now, because each year I'm trying to push it. And you guys mentioned looking at my earlier work. That stuff is like horrifying for me to look back on. Cause I just see, inexperience and
But you see where you're going though, which is what I liked about it. It's like the trip you made in these 23 years makes sense looking at your old stuff to your new stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's reassuring to hear. Like,
yeah.
That's it'd be weird. I mean, that's the thing that will come with age. The question I ask myself is like, is this going to peak and then eventually start to fall off? Because you see some of your favorite artists through their career. I'm sure this has happened to all of us. And that moment when that artist, you're looking at their work and it's like, this is when it starts to kind of fall off. Like,
Yeah.
they're not as good as what they were during their.
But then there's other artists like when we talked about Simonson that just keep growing.
Yeah.
How do you keep growing, I guess, is the
Push that ceiling.
Exactly. I think you're right, Troy. I think you're right. You got to keep challenging yourself, keep growing.
And that looks different for everyone. It's not like there's a formula for how to do it. It's just what your expectations are and where you put your energy and what comes out of it, and then where does it lead you to next? And you might do something that really surprises you, but if you don't build on that, then sort of what was the point, right?
Right.
It's interesting, man, because like everyone's approach to art and style and technique is different, and then everyone's approach to how to apply that to a career in art is also different.
Yeah.
So that's the interesting thing about having these discussions, these Zooms, these shows that we're making, is I think with social media and technology now, the idea of talking about this stuff is influencing. I'm not trying to make our shit so lofty, but I think this stuff is influencing new generations of artists and cartoonists where pre-internet, our generation, we did not have these answers. We did not have,
no.
we weren't witness to these discussions unless maybe you went to a Comic-Con and there was a panel discussion with artists talking, but otherwise it's been interesting to realize how different everyone is with their approach to this stuff.
We had magazines like God, I'm trying to remember the name of. There was one.
Dude, Tommy, Comics Scene magazine. Remember
Oh
that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
That's
like,
what jumped to mind.
and Amazing Heroes. And I mean, Wizard is
Amazing Heroes was great.
that's the
Yeah,
main.
no, this is all pre-Wizard. Wizard, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is, there was.
The
God, there
Comics
was
Journal was always around.
Comics Journal. Was there one Comics Reporter, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one had a really great interview with Frank Miller.
Yes. I know
This
exactly what you're talking about.
And that was around, oh man, I think it was around like maybe around early 90s.
I discovered Eisner because of Miller. Like Miller was my
sure.
hero, and I would read every little thing I could about him, and he kept saying Eisner, 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 and then I finally discovered Eisner, and I was like, holy shit, I get it.
How would we, we were not, getting comics much when he was doing stuff.
Right.
And you had to have a really savvy shop,
Yeah.
to show you that stuff.
Yeah.
Even if you knew what the spirit was or something.
Yeah, good point. I feel like I didn't really see Eisner's work that much in the like late 80s, early 90s when I was going into comic shops. It just didn't.
Yeah, I didn't.
I don't know if it was, maybe it was me not knowing what to look for because I was still young, but it wasn't as prevalent as the Millers and the Simonsons and those guys were running that era in a way, but I didn't see Will's stuff really until a little later.
Where I would see it is I would get the Bud Plant catalogs.
Yeah.
Yes, the Bud Plant catalog.
Yeah, remember like they were like just the newsprint.
Yes.
Staple
Dude,
thing.
I love those.
Yeah, and I would just like, oh my god, what is this? Oh my god, what is that? This like super exotic shit.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh yeah, I seen that guy stuff in heavy metal.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, Bud Plant was the shit. This is pre-internet.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that stuff. So I saw like stuff, Will Eisner stuff advertised in the catalog, but I didn't, you can't like appreciate it. You don't know what you're looking at.
Right.
I was like, oh, that looks kind of cool, but it's not like you could look inside of it or anything.
Right, unless you went to San Diego and went to the Bud Plant booth.
Yes.
Which I did, and that was my main goal in San Diego so many years was to go get some shit.
He did have all the good stuff. He did have all the really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember too, the selling point of Will Eisner was people told me that, he was the guy who did the first graphic novel, basically.
Right.
Contract with God. And that was something that stuck in my mind as a kid. It was like, oh, okay, so this guy did the first graphic novel. That's huge. I need to find this book at some point because this guy's like the grandfather of that.
So I knew who he was, but I didn't buy or own any Eisner stuff until Shrek. Bob Shrek told me when I was in high school, so I was like 17 or something, and he told me that I should get that How to Draw Comics that he did, the sequential storytelling or whatever.
Sequential art. Yeah, that's exactly what happened to me. It was an editor at Dark Horse told me that, and I went and read that. It changed everything.
And then eventually,
I loved it, but I already knew everything though, so.
Tommy is the ceiling.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
We're all
I was
bumping
like,
up against Tommy.
cool. This is cool for kids, but you know what do we have for like grown-ups?
School of Visual Arts. You go there, and Will Eisner will directly teach you.
That's right.
I mean, not currently, obviously, but back in the 90s, I think.
You know what? I have a drawing I did of the spirit around maybe around like 93, 94 or something like that. And Will Eisner signed it.
Oh, that's awesome.
He signed your drawing.
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
You will never see that drawing.
Oh, I do have a tiny little original Will Eisner that I got from Alan Spiegel.
Oh,
And it's really cool. Will did these little, it was for a newspaper. I can't remember which newspaper. And he'd do these little fun facts as just sort of like a little spot illo thing with the fun fact. And
Sure.
and so I have one of those that I was very, very happy to get, just to be able to own an original Will Eisner drawing. It was just sort of something small and not really what he was known for, but to me it meant the world, to have something drawn by one of my heroes. So
Dude, that's amazing. That's awesome.
and he was always a very nice guy.
yeah, that's the other thing I was about to say. No one ever had a bad word to say about him.
I remember I must have been 26 or 27, and I went to San Diego Comic-Con, and at this point I was a huge Will Eisner fan, and I saw him just walking the floor. This is when the show was a lot smaller, and I was like, oh my God, that's Will Eisner. And I was like, Jim, I was thinking about what you said. I was like, that's the guy, like, this is all because of him.
Yeah.
We're all here because of him. So I just went up and said hi and introduced myself and said I'm a young cartoonist trying to get started. He was just sweet as can be.
Yeah.
I could have met him a couple times, and I never had the nerve to go up and just say hello. Not because I thought he would be rude or anything. I just was, when I was younger, was just sort of embarrassed about being tongue-tied with people who I greatly admired, and so I didn't talk to him. But I did witness this very funny exchange one time, and it was at San Diego Comic-Con, and he was out sort of in the hall, like away from the big room. He was just in the hall to go up the stairs, and clearly had a panel to go to, but he was talking to two young people, and usually, in his usual Will Eisner self, being very friendly. And as I was walking past, his wife ran up to him and kind of chastised him for being late for this panel that he had to be, and he just kind of went, oh, and then bolted up the escalator. It was the funniest thing, because I was just thinking, they're going to wait for Will Eisner. What are they going to do?
Right, of course.
When I lived in LA, I belonged to this group of guys. They call themselves Comic Artist Professional Society.
Oh my God, what a name!
Yeah, and it was like mostly like a lot of old school guys. Like,
Did they wear hats?
Argona.
Did they wear hats? A lot of hats.
Yeah, hats with tassels.
Well, the acronym being CAPS.
Yeah.
Did you say Sergio Aragonés was there?
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
that's cool.
And Stan Sakai.
Oh, Stan is a sweet motherfucker. That is the
And-
sweetest man ever.
Not at Caps, man. That guy, he's a fucking animal.
Who?
No,
Oh.
he was always drunk. And like
Party animal.
Bill Stout would be there all the time.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. Terrible name, but wow.
And I'm just like hanging out like, who's this fucking punk,
Were you there with Howard?
I was there mostly with Mike Vosberg would go there, who he also I met through Howard.
We got to get Howard on one of these.
Yeah.
That would be
There was
awesome.
an embarrassing thing when, that, and we can talk about the time when I met Howard. I've told that story before about what a dick he was to me. And,
Yeah, you told that on my podcast.
yeah. But then, like, I also, that day, okay, so there was another person there also, but I didn't really remember meeting that person. It was just, I was so excited about meeting Howard. And then, like, maybe like after Howard and I started becoming friends and hanging out more, then it was like, he told me, oh, you live right by Mike Vosberg, like literally down the street. I said, oh, cool, and I had known a little bit of Mike's stuff at the time. He was doing a lot of Valiant stuff. He had drawn, when it became American flag, it was Howard Chaykin's American flag, and he wasn't actually drawing it.
Oh, right.
So that was all like Vosberg again. And
Okay.
And I was like, oh, cool. He goes, no, I think you met him. I was like, no, I never met him. And then I went to Vosberg. I went to Vosberg's house, and he got the very first Wacom tablet.
Oh, wow.
And we were like, holy shit, man, I got to see this thing. So, and it was like this huge, giant thing. So this was around 93, 94.
Shit.
And so I went over there, and he goes, oh, yeah, we've met. And I'm like, really? I don't remember that. But, yeah, he was the guy who was there with Howard that I don't remember meeting.
Because Howard destroyed you.
Yeah. And I was like, I felt really bad, but not really, He's the guy that, remember we were doing the Essential Sequential stream a little while ago, and a guy made a joke about the only stretches that you can do with banana? Yeah, Vosberg used to do that all the time.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, he would hover over me as we were working. He'd be hover over me, be eating a banana.
What?
Yeah, I'd be sitting there drawing. We all shared a studio, and he'd lean over me and go, those lines look a little, those are a little bold. Those lines are a little thick.
What? Was he doing it on purpose, or was he completely blind to the fact that he was chomping on a banana in your?
No, he was blind to it.
Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, it was kind of, I don't know if it's worse or better, but he didn't mean any harm,
No.
But yeah, no, he's just an interesting guy.
Were your lines a little thick, Tommy?
They were, and I still obviously think of that every day.
So how are you guys?
The book will come out. The book would come out, and he'd come and he'd go, I thought this would print too bold, but it looks all right.
How are you guys doing with your Eisner?
Having
Good.
fun, man.
Yeah, I'm sort of in a groove with lines. There's many, many, many lines in this.
Yeah, I'm getting in a group too. Although I'm on the background characters now. I have no idea what's going on there.
Yeah, I mean,
Great, John.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Look at Jim's. Wow, that's great. Yeah, you guys are both doing the spirit. I see.
Yeah. Jim, I'm inking this guy that's holding the two guns. He's wearing like a Civil War jacket, I guess.
Yeah.
But I thought his hat was like a fisherman hat, so I inked this fisherman hat on this guy.
That's okay. I mean, he's got like the double-breasted like jacket with the buttons on the chest. I cheated though, man. I had like the pencils also on my iPad in front of me, so I could look at them under, on my light box, but also in front of me. Yeah, the background guys, I don't know what's.
Yeah, I just was like, I'll figure out something. I just have the blue lines in front of me to look at.
Troy, you got like, that's a whole scene going on.
Yeah, it's here. I'll hold it up here. A lot of lines. It doesn't look like much until I have that background.
Oh, dude, you're doing a great job. Wow.
That's awesome.
It's funny because it looks better when it's I can see the pencils underneath it. I was like, it looks a little thin when I take it off the light pad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
you
need to get bolder.
That's right. Where's Michael Vosberg when I need him?
Yeah.
That's just Tommy's job now to tell us all to make it bolder.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I think like there was a weird like Mike was like one of those guys that like when you're starting out and see I didn't see that. Now I can look back and go, yeah, I don't know if I would have liked me when I was 23 or whatever, and you just
Were you
like,
a punk?
yeah, you think you know stuff.
Yeah, well, I would have been the same way too. I probably wouldn't have liked myself then either.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, I mean, if you're just like, oh yeah, I'm done, I'm cooked and I'm perfect now, I mean, and it's, like so most of us luckily look back and go, oh God, so yeah, I think like I was like a little bit of that.
Did you have that attitude, Tommy?
Huh?
Did you have that attitude?
No,
Oh.
no. I'm just thinking like if you don't look back and feel that way.
Right.
Like I think like otherwise you're never gonna get better.
Right.
Well, it's insecurity, right? You're hiding that insecurity from your youth, and this is like you think you know everything because you like subconsciously know you don't know a goddamn thing.
Right. Also, I think a lot of it is you're excited, like you're starting to get work, a little bit maybe.
Right.
And you're like, man, this is gonna be the best. I'm gonna be the fucking king, like you're excited and enthusiastic.
Right.
And even though you're not really pretending you're that great, but you're trying to like keep yourself excited and always looking to getting better. And at that age, if you're working hard and stuff, especially drawing comics every single day, you can't help but to start to get better.
Right.
Sure.
So you're kind of excited, and then you've got a more seasoned person wanting to slap you upside the head, I think.
Right.
So now I look back and I pity Mike Vosberg for having to put up with me.
Is Mike still around?
Yeah.
Do you still chat with them ever? Or?
No. Not since the banana thing.
Yeah.
That was the deal breaker, the chomping of the banana.
That was no more.
Just weird.
Well, at least he was taking care of his potassium, right?
Yeah. And it's funny because, man, I eat bananas all the time now. I guess he had a really big impact on me.
All right, fellas. I think let's take a little break real quick. I'll press pause on this. I need to get some coffee in me.
Yeah, I'm gonna
take care of some business.
I'm gonna do the same.
All right, so let me head on over and press pause real quick.
Cool.
All right, we are back. Although the audience has no idea we were even gone because it's seamless. I got my coffee. How are you guys doing? Let's take a progress report on the spirit pieces. Jim?
There we go, right there. This guy's about done. I'll probably add some color to this later.
That's amazing, Jim.
It's just fun.
Yeah, okay. Jim, that looks great. Troy, let me see yours real quick.
It's funny. It's just noodling.
Yeah, I think we're all like almost done, right? Because I've only got...
Oh my God, no. I got like another... Well, I got all the rain to do now. All right, well, let's keep going for a little bit. I do have to get off. I've probably got another half hour I can go before I got to get off. Sure. I'm hoping
I'll show you a portion of what I'm doing.
We don't want to see it.
It's not a spoiler part.
Wait, talk, Tommy, so we can see it.
Okay, it's just like a party scene I'm drawing right now in the Grendel book.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's all pen mostly, this part, because I'm working on these little figures. So
you're doing it in pen, you said?
Yeah, a lot of this is pen, and then I'm gonna come
Pen.
back in with a brush and put in like, some stuff that I feel only works well with a brush, like some of the hair and clothing and the blacks and stuff.
Yeah, my problem is nothing but the brush gives me like everything I use. I'm like, yeah, that would have been better with a brush. I just don't know how to use anything else effectively.
Right.
I usually feel that way on projects I care about, but I'm just farming this in.
So, what pen were you using, Tommy?
I like these. They're these little. This reminds me of that scene in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. There's like, I have a Casio, and it is called Le Pen.
Oh, okay. I know the Lay pen.
Yeah, and this one, I can maybe will maybe last me a whole issue. I've got like this is a number 3. I've got a number 5 and a number 8.
Okay.
And I'll tend to kind of trash them. But I like them. They're kind of like those microns, I also use these Prismacolor guys. They're like also like that.
Right. I know what you're talking about.
Prismacolor Premier, like they're just the same kind of tip on them, and and they usually last. Yeah, after a while, sometimes they look kind of interesting the more they get beat up, though, too.
I like those. I like the microns when, if you're careful, you can take like a number 1,
Yeah,
01, and cut it in half. Cut the nib in half, and it makes this amazing line, especially when it starts to dry a bit, and you get this really beautiful little dry brush pen.
Oh, cool.
It's the best.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you know Bill Reinhold, who?
Yep.
Well, Bill was inking.
JP, right?
Yeah, I think it was Challengers of the Unknown.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he inked him on Earth X, didn't he?
Yeah, I think maybe.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah, he did.
Like JP inked that himself, but I guess maybe not.
No, Bill Reinhold inked Earth X,
Oh,
I
cool.
thought. I can tell you.
I mean, not that the inker is that important.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was Reinhold.
Oh, cool.
Earth X.
But yeah, Bill is so great with ink. I mean, it's amazing, and he did this thing on Earth X that it seemed like he had taken a brush and like cut it and like cut some of the middle bristles out.
Yeah.
And he was getting this really cool like double line on stuff, like
Oh, wow.
it was awesome.
That happens on my dry brush sometimes, or it just splits.
Yeah.
I love that.
You think they look at like Robert Fawcett, and he would do all those things with like brushes, and the more beat up, the better for him.
Yeah, I'm not wired that way.
Yeah, I'm kind of, I can go, it depends what I'm working on. But I actually got some potential animation job stuff going on that I might. Jim, you're probably super busy, right?
Yeah, but I want to talk to you off camera about what.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's just the work for hire kind of stuff, but stuff that I think like I might be able to spread some of the work around.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, I'm busy, but we'll talk, man. My people will call your people.
Yeah, I was gonna talk to all 3 of you guys. Except for Troy.
Because fuck me, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I heard it was like no Canadians allowed is what it was.
Yeah, it was some kind of tax thing, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I get it. The rest of the world is just jealous of us.
Actually, it was kind of the other way around. They're like, well, if we don't hire a Canadian, we have to drop your rate by 30%.
You're like, I know 1 or 2 then. The token Canadian.
Oh man, I'm burning out on this Eisner thing. These background figures are giving me a run for my money.
It's definitely open to interpretation, man.
Yes.
You could
I mean, I'm just drawing with my brush at this point.
yeah.
What did Todd say in that video many years ago? When in doubt, black it out.
Yes.
That wasn't that a Wally Wood saying like from way back in the day?
Oh, is it? Oh,
I think so. Am I right about Tommy? Do you know?
I don't know.
I thought it was Wally Wood.
You could,
I actually heard that in art school too. Like that was one of my illustration teachers kind of offered that up as like a solution to out of design problems. But I mean, that sort of is true, but also at the same time, isn't it like? Well, it
really
depends
lazy?
it depends on the situation. It depends.
Right. Yeah, because the blacks do have to be designed in. You can't just throw them around.
Well, yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah.
you guys know this thing, right? The Wallywood.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The panels that always work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
I
Tommy-
love that thing.
Tommy, how many is it on there? How many? Is it
22.
like 20?
22, right?
Yeah, 22. You're right. Yeah. I got this from either Mike Vosberg or from Steve Rude. This exact Xerox that I still have just hanging
Does it
up
have
in
banana
my
stains on it?
Tommy,
Yeah,
did you work with Steve Rude? Do you have Steve Rude stories?
he would come over and hang out in the studio.
Oh, I'm sure that was interesting.
Yeah, it was fine.
Did he refer to himself in the third person, or
Sometimes.
yeah, the dude?
Yeah. Yeah, he was also on my softball team.
Oh shit. Okay.
Wait, was
So,
that
yeah.
in North Carolina, the softball team?
No, this is in LA.
Oh.
Oh.
So that was a while ago.
Yeah. This is like 20 whatever years ago.
Isn't he really? I've never met him. Isn't he really tall?
Yeah.
Yeah, or he used to be. He's dead now, I think.
What?
No.
he's not.
No.
Tommy.
That's Tommy, that's irresponsible.
It is. I can't believe it. Wow, that's terrible.
I know he's alive because I follow him on Instagram.
Oh, there you go.
That's a bot.
And he's still producing like pretty killer
Oh, that
commissions.
guy's amazing.
Yeah. So my buddy, this guy Ian, I won't say his last name. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but he's a filmmaker, and he made the Rude Dude documentary about Steve Rude, which you can see for free on like Amazon Prime or whatever. And
So we could easily Google your friend's name. Is what you're saying.
sure. But needless to say, it was a very interesting film experience for him. So Steve is an interesting, eccentric character. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Melissa almost colored a Nexus project for Steve.
Shit.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she was coloring some stuff for Howard and some of my stuff at the time. This was like around 94, 95. And he and she decided not to do it because he would come over the house and kind of sit over her shoulder.
Oh.
And it was kind of, it was like, she was like, didn't care enough about the job to I was like, it's all right, just deal with it. And no, it wasn't good.
Yeah, I would imagine it's not a pleasant experience working with him.
That's just odd, man. Like looking over someone.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's tough because, since we lived close to each other-ish, it was easy to do, which probably isn't always a good thing. So, but yeah, but Steve was good. Another good thing for me as a early in my early 20s it was a great guy to know because another person who could introduce me to really great stuff.
Oh, sure.
So he was, obviously a big fan of Kniff, and so I picked up on a lot of stuff from him and Vosberg and Howard and all those guys were, they really introduced me to so much stuff that I wouldn't have known otherwise. It was great.
That's cool. You
I
need
would
those kind of
love to.
people.
I'd love to see Steve and Howard together. That must have been like a time bomb.
Oh yeah, that wasn't a common thing.
Yeah, I would imagine not.
That was more like Steve would hang out with Vosberg.
Yeah, but I'm sure there was a time here and there where it happened.
Do you know the infamous Toth critique of Steve's stuff?
Yes.
I don't.
At the time, that was not a known thing. We had someone in our studio is the person who leaked that out there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
So what was the criticism? What was the critique?
Pages and pages of notes.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
He did a Johnny Quest story and he sent it to Toth, and yeah, it just ended up being like, and the very first sentence is, "Okay, you asked for it, Buster," and it's brutal. It's needlessly
mean.
Yeah. So yeah, at the time I thought it was awesome, but yeah, looking back, I'm like, that would have crushed me.
Yeah.
So that's
I'm
why
sure,
I'm sure it was doing my stuff to him.
Yeah, I'm sure it was needlessly mean because it was probably pretty good.
Right.
Yeah, it was good, but man, every criticism was valid.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's like, oh
yeah, it was the worst.
That's the worst part about it because you're looking at it going, shit, he's right. Oh, it sucks. Not that the art sucks. I was just saying it sucks that he's right.
Right.
But he's right if you want to be awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was I think something that Steve did that was good enough, but Toth was like, that's not good enough for my good enough.
Yeah.
So, Toth was, even when Toth was kind of phoning it in, it was always like amazing.
Oh yeah.
So he'd do 8 pages a day on whatever, and it's nuts.
Well, there's a guy, and it's interesting because I've had a few discussions about Alex Toth with other cartoonists, and I always sort of ask them, well, why wasn't he a bigger name in comics? Like, why isn't he remembered along with the other huge, giants of comics? And the one rationale that made the most sense to me was that he just never did that one iconic run on something.
Right.
So it wasn't that it was about his ability, because clearly he drew, the height of what you can do in comics, but he just didn't have that character or that cast of characters where you're like, Alex Toth equals this.
Right.
Yeah.
I think if you tell people, oh, he created, like Space Ghost or designed the Super Friends, or, then people go, oh, but yeah, it wasn't because of his name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of I think about that with my own work. If I stuck around and did this other thing we were just talking about for as long as I could, I think the longest I've ever done anything was 9 issues, a billion years ago. And yeah, I don't think that the typical comic book reader has any clue who I am, because I've never had that a book, or a character that that I wanted to stick around and draw for 4 years or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think I have that either. But I mean, that just means I need to create something. I don't need to work on an existing property.
See, I'm more interested in, I was thinking that was going to be my next thing, which is why I was maybe not going to do the thing I'm doing. So, but yeah, you gotta make those grown-up choices sometimes.
Troy, is there something that you would associate your own self with, your own name with, as far as comics go? One big project, like
No.
would it be Trout, or would it, or
Yeah, if there's
working with-
anything, it would be Trout. It's for me personally. I think most people know me from Jenny Finn, which is slightly odd because it's the book that I actually didn't finish. But I don't think that I've sort of carved that out yet either. Just in terms of like creating a world or a character where people do make that connection, and I'm definitely writing a lot more for myself, and part of that working to the ceiling is getting better at writing as well.
Yeah.
And I still think that it can happen. It's not like, oh, this is just where I am, and wanting to expand that and push that. And, I'm putting together a pitch now for European publishers. We'll see if that happens.
Right.
And
That's awesome.
yeah, and that being the main focus. But yeah, if anything, it would be Trout now for me personally, and doing sort of 2 books with that. But obviously, Jim, you've really carved out something pretty special with Girl Scouts.
Yeah.
And you keep returning to those characters and expanding that world, and that's pretty amazing. You've done short films and the comics and everything, so that's pretty great.
Yeah, it's I'm trying to have Girl Scouts as like my Ninja Turtles or my Cerebit.
Awesome.
Like
That's
my thing that's like, yeah, this is mine. This is what I do. I mean, when I go to conventions, there's still a majority of people that know me as like, oh, the Clerks guy, Kevin Smith.
Right.
Or I mean, Tank Girl also brought me a new audience of people. But the thing I'm really trying to push is like, no, I do my own shit. It's called Girl Scouts, and it's this thing that's been around, But when you do mainstream stuff, though, man, I mean, the audience tends to be bigger for that stuff. So
yeah,
but also that audience isn't an audience I'm as interested in.
Sure.
Like when I think of us all talking, it's hard to be objective because most of the ways that we all know each other is because we start by noticing the other person's work, and whatever.
Right.
And I didn't notice it because it was that book. I noticed it because of the art.
Right.
So I didn't go, oh man, yeah, I saw that, Batman thing that Troy drew or whatever. I mean, I'm sitting here, looking at the art, so.
Right.
So I think that's probably most of the people who get our work, who read our books, are probably those kinds of people. And that's where most of the commissions we get to, they're probably getting it to see how, because they like our work, not
right
based on, it's I used to get requests because, I used to do so much Star Wars stuff years ago. And so people would see me at a convention and they might recognize me as somebody who did Star Wars stuff. So they would say, oh, let's have, so there's a guy wanted of course, Slave Leia,
Sure.
So I'm like, all right, so I do a Slave Leia sketch for him, but I give her a lightsaber and I kind of do my own thing with it. And he came to pick it up.
Did we just lose Tommy?
We just lost. Oh, he froze.
Oh, damn it. He'll be back. He'll finish the story.
Right at that pivotal.
I know,
He
right?
was I can see his face.
Tommy, we lost you. Tommy, we
crap.
lost you. Start over. We lost you.
So we got to the part where he was. Yeah, we got to the part where he was coming back to pick up the piece.
Yeah, and his face just died. His face was oh, he's looking at it oh. And I'm I could tell he wasn't into it. And I don't remember what I said. I was oh, is that cool? Or are you into it? And he was I can't even tell it's Carrie Fisher.
Oh my God.
What?
No. And so he wanted Carrie Fisher in the, he wanted a likeness I would paint in a book for Del Rey or Random House.
Right.
And he didn't give a shit about me. It could have been whoever because
Right,
I
right.
just did Star Wars. So that's when I was like, from now on, like, if I can, I'm gonna just like have veto power on this stuff, and it's not
Yeah.
worth like drawing stuff for, somebody that, doesn't know who you are if you can afford to, just
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like because that I just like feel like I'm setting them up for disappointment.
Right.
Yeah, but how were you supposed to know that that was his particular
Yeah.
Well,
his-
yeah,
the
exactly.
thing he was looking for? It's
His
not.
kink.
It's like we're not mind readers here with the commissions. It's
Yeah.
I don't
All
know.
right. I'm
Now that guy, I see him at conventions and he's scared of me.
All right, I'm done, fellas. I've done about as good as I can do with this piece.
Let's see what you got there.
It looks great.
Let's
Here,
see those
I'll
background
hold,
guys.
I'll hold it up to the camera. The background guys are a mess.
No, that's good.
Looks good, dude.
And it looks like Will Eisner guys, too.
I tried.
Yeah, that crazy lighting and stuff. I immediately read that as Will Eisner.
Okay, good. I don't know. I'll get a good scan. I was happy with like what I did in his mask. I was able to do a little bit of my thing in there, and still keep it Eisner. I don't know.
Yeah, the dry brush and the mask and stuff. And
Like that's
yeah,
me.
great.
But the eyes, I got to do a little white work. I got to put some highlights in the eyes.
This was an interesting one, man, because this is open to interpretation. This,
Yeah. This was very interesting. Troy, you can no longer pick. No, I'm kidding.
That was it. I blew it.
I'm kidding. No, this was great. This was a really good challenge. I mean,
Well, now you know why I was too busy.
oh, I see, Tommy. I see.
It's all clear as mud now.
I still think John Buscema is who we should tackle next. I think he would be a blast for every one of us would find something in there worthwhile.
I'm down with that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tommy.
I'm gonna keep working. I'm gonna keep working at this one for a while because it's. I'm not gonna give up on it yet.
It's gonna end up being like the Eisner version of that Frankenstein drawing.
It might.
That would be awesome.
It just might.
Well, I've got to let this dry. I do want to do a little bit of white splatter coming off the light and then put some highlights in his eyes. But other than that, it's pretty much done. And Jim, what about you? Where are you?
I started a second piece. I got this one
Mm-hmm.
going, another very loose kind of thing. And then this guy, I'm gonna add some paint and some zipatone to today.
I love how
awesome.
you made the letters yours.
Yeah.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out. I don't know. I sort of fucked this up. There's like a weird tangent thing happening here with the eye and the.
Oh yeah. That's why I just blacked out that whole area.
Yeah. But it's fine. It's okay.
Plus, I wanted that light source to really feel like light, and if you lit up above the light, then you sort of lose the power of the light itself.
Yeah.
That was a huge failure on his part.
Yeah, he's a horrible designer. Terrible at lighting too. All right, fellas. So Troy, when you are done, send me a scan because what I'm doing now is and send me a high res. I'm putting them in the video at the very end, so the video will end with a good scan of everyone's piece.
Cool. I'll probably finish it tomorrow. Is that cool?
Yeah. There's no rush. This won't be out for another 2 or 3 weeks, probably.
Oh, okay. I got some time then. Okay, cool.
Yeah, you're fine. I mean, I got a little bit to do, but not much. All right. Well, thank you guys. This was another awesome time and a really good discussion. Troy, that was a great topic. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Really good. I love when we get a little academic with our talks. That's good stuff.
Definitely. That was great.
Hey, Troy, can we see your drawing again, please?
It's not done. I'll. I got some work to do.
Yeah, it's looking great so far, though, man. I love it.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the main reason I was kind of bummed that I at first was like, oh shit, I thought this was tomorrow, and mostly because I just wanted to hang out with you guys. So it was good to see you.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, Tommy. That was great. I like when we can all get together. So I'm gonna press stop on the record here, but we can still hang and chat while we pack up or do whatever we gotta do. So,
Cool.
and all of you listening, thank you for watching and listening. Please hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. Please like and comment on the video. And there's a link in the description to my GoFundMe page for the podcast. Thanks again, everyone.
Thanks.
See ya.